All right.
Because we're not ready.
All right. Okay. We're ready. Hello,
Ready.
this is Mudita here.
Are you ready for this? This is PRpHD here.
And we're doing our much delayed spoiler review of Shin Kamen Rider. I'm looking at my calendar now. That's why my eyes are down. It's been, as of today, it's been 4 weeks since we watched Shin Kamen Rider.
Oh, wow.
And we already did our non-spoiler review before.
We did like 5 different reviews prior to that.
Yeah, we've been reviewing a lot of things. It's been quite a busy month.
Yeah.
In terms of movies and whatnot.
They still haven't released the box office numbers for the US for Shin Kamen Rider yet.
Yeah, and we do have Box Office Mojo open in another tab here, but yeah, like PRPHD is saying, it doesn't have the US box office numbers, but hopefully we can get into some of the fun stuff of this film here by the director and all that.
I don't know, it's very fun, but I would say it's like talking about it could be fun.
Yeah, anyway, it could be a lot of fun talking about it, and it's quite an engaging film, and there's a lot to chew on here, so let's get started. So yeah, here's our trailer react. If you want to take a look, maybe we'll start with this and take a look at this before we get started.
Sure.
And yeah, this has been doing pretty well. It's got 397 views. Yeah, I know. Numbers aren't everything, of course, but I'm just very happy with how it's turned out. But yeah, let's take a look at our trailer react for now, and then that'll help us get started. Alright, and that was a 1-minute trailer, and we reacted to it over 19 minutes. We had a lot to chew on there.
I'm doing something right now.
And what's that?
I'm doing something right now.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
And yeah, we just had a lot of meandering points that maybe people liked, maybe they didn't. But yeah, we had a lot to talk about with it. But yeah, seems like we got hints of what's in the movie. And yeah, the first part was like introducing the protagonist in a kind of a downbeat kind of way. And the movie does have those kinds of notes and flavors. And then the later parts of the trailer introduce the villains and the action and the heart-pumping adventure and stuff like that. But yeah, there's also other parts of the film that maybe weren't covered by the trailer that is also worth talking about. Yeah.
I wonder if the movie reaction compared to the trailer reaction didn't do well because no one watched the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
There was a pretty limited release, yeah.
Yeah, there was a limited release. We saw it on June 5th, which was like one of the main release days for it. At like I don't know, that's a Monday, and we saw it in the evening that day.
Oh.
And yeah, seems like I don't know, people are waiting for a home release of it, possibly.
Well, they haven't released Shin Ultraman or Godzilla in at home yet.
Yeah, the Shin, and yeah, as additional context, just as a reminder, this is Shin Kamen Rider, which is about an adaptation of the Masked Rider series in Japan, where it's about a hero that is transformed with biosynthetic augmentation into a motorcycle riding, super kicking bio-mutant hero. And then it's part of this Shin Japan Heroes universe that's being kind of helmed by Toho and Hideaki Anno. And that includes Shin Godzilla, which came out many years ago at this point. And then also Shin Ultraman, which we watched last year and reacted to as well.
Keep people updated. The adaptation has bio stuff, not the original.
Yeah. Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. But yeah. So yeah, that's this. Here's some screenshots. I mean, you saw the trailer already. Here's the box office release. Here's the tomato meter.
Did they say Cyborg in that?
78% tomato meter from 9 critic reviews. 89%
Not a lot of
audience
reviews, yeah.
score. Yeah, not a lot of reviews here. 89% audience score from 100 ratings. So not a lot of people reacting to this. And then Shin Kamen Rider on Box Office Mojo.
Hybrid Cyborg. Is he technically a cyborg in this?
Kinda. It's they keep calling him a grasshopper hybrid cyborg, with like augmentation and stuff.
The Hong Kong box office don't look that great. It just came out in Hong Kong.
Oh, they just came out like a week ago. It's
because they have the Chinese subs, I guess.
It's also a small region.
Yeah.
It's a relatively small region. You know, I guess it's still being released. So if you're watching this, hopefully you're having fun in Hong Kong or whatnot. Here's Japan's release that came out in March. Interesting, they call this international release, even though it's assuming that it's like the U.S. is the domestic market.
Yeah, it does assume that. Yeah.
And even though Japan is like $15 million, which is like 80%, 90% of the international release. So anyway, very U.S.-centric approach to the domestic connotations and stuff of it. Why not? But anyway, here's the story. I just skipped ahead a little bit. But let's go over our points here. How do we want to break this down? There's a lot of things to talk about. I always keep cutting my head out of this shot. But how do we want to break this down exactly? Like, we go sequentially. We could go based on the OGs. I mean, we could go overall and then dive into details. I think maybe that might be a good approach.
I guess we can have the OGs on screen. We don't need to say who the OGs are because people just read the screen.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we could just talk about the overview and then hone in on details that we want to focus on.
Yeah.
For now. So, in the non-spoiler review, we talk about Shocker being the main antagonistic organization that this new Kamen Rider has to face. But we didn't really get into like the challenges they face in specifics or anything like that. We did talk about how like they did have these kind of plots to like take over the world in ways that would benefit the world, quote unquote, but would end up creating dystopias in their own different ways. But we didn't really get into their plots specifically. I don't know. Where would you like to begin?
Let's see. Gotta think about it.
I mean, how does this compare to the original Kamen Rider?
That's a good start. I know Spider Og or Bat Og or Kaijin were the start with that. I can't remember if it was the Bat Kaijin was originally a doctor or not. Shocker Riders are there, even though they're just, according to the wiki, they're just Grasshopper Ogs. When they introduced Kamen Rider 2, I don't think he was a bad guy. He wasn't a bad guy at the time. He was just a replacement for Takeshi Hongo because like the actor got injured. I think in a similar, it might have been a similar way to like how he's injured in the movie as a sort of throwback. Like he injures his leg in a motorcycle accident or something, so they have to replace him. And
okay, so it seems like they're like drawing elements from the different series.
Yeah.
And they structured it such that like it's based around like the origins of this new Shin Kamen Rider, then like the escalation of like fighting the different Shocker members, the different OGs of Shocker, then like the drama building with the characters Ruriko, who's helping him out, the daughter of the scientist.
I don't believe there's a daughter of the scientist in the original show, but I don't think she's like an Og or anything. Yeah.
Okay.
Like in the first episode, she's like, "Oh, you killed my father," because she still got framed by Shocker. Takeshi Hongo sort of gets framed by Shocker to like she thinks like he's the guy who killed her father, and like she has totally different motivations because of that.
Okay, so they've readapted her character for this. It sounds like, and then they integrate her into the story of Butterfly Og, which becomes a whole arc in itself.
Yeah,
Like several mini arcs inside that arc, where where she's confronting Butterfly Og, along with Takeshi Hongo, and then that leads to the spin-off with like the redemption of Rider 2, which is Hayato Ichimonji, and then like also like fighting Mantis Chameleon, and then the Grasshopper Ogs, and then like the showdown with Kamen Rider 1 and 2 versus Butterfly Og. So yeah, that ends up being a very long arc. I felt like that was like, oh, this is gonna be a quick arc. Like all the other Ogs were straightforward, but then Butterfly Og just becomes this extended like third act of the like, I don't know, extended sixth act of the film.
it sort of felt like that, but not quite as well done as Shin Ultraman did it. With like the different arcs, like there's he's the real bad guy. He's the real bad guy. He's the real bad guy in Shin Ultraman. This one, it was like you knew most of these guys weren't the real bad guy till like the end.
Right.
And this also says you're talking about adaptation. I don't believe Butterfly Og's the original bad guy for Kamen Rider, the original series. They use a totally different villain.
Right. Yeah, in terms of like structure, like this has a sort of a similar structure to Shin Ultraman, in that it has like a similar like the feeling of like having a whole TV series is set of arcs, like smashed into like one short film. And then it has like 6 acts as a result, with like 6 different like main villains or whatever. And then they gotta breeze through it really quickly. And I remember us mentioning I vaguely remember us mentioning during this non-spoiler review how like it did feel pretty rushed. How they're introducing characters like left and right very quickly, and then resolving their arcs. And I think like in this one it seemed to resolve, each arc seemed to resolve itself a little too quickly, a little too tidily. And didn't really allow things to breathe a little bit, but compared to Shin Ultraman, and yeah, I think that was one of our main things we were saying about this film compared to Shin Ultraman, was that Shin Ultraman like it made us made our minds expand, and like made us think about like the nature of reality and the nature of like humanity, and like what it means to be a hero, and like what it means to be an alien and to still fight for people. This movie still has some of those things, kind of like those kinds of mind-bending elements where it's like, oh, okay, what would it be like to like try and create a perfect society, but how could that get twisted? And like, what does it mean to save the soul of a stranger as like a true hero might in this kind of like Shin Kamen Rider-like fashion? But even then, it's still like the stakes are much smaller, and it doesn't like land as quite well. Like, there's little ways that, like, it just doesn't add up to the same kind of, like, lightning in a bottle that it felt like I was feeling with when I was watching a Shin Ultraman. Still pretty entertaining, kind of like Shin Japan Heroes universe kind of thing. But yeah, we did mention how it was, like, you know, a little bit of a tier, like half a tier lower than, like, the other Shin Ultraman movies and whatnot, right? Something like that.
I feel like, Kamen Rider isn't, like, unlike Godzilla and Ultraman, even though Godzilla's not the main character of Shin Godzilla, like, Kamen Rider titular character is a human compared to the other two.
Right. And, yeah, speaking of, like, Shin Godzilla and Shin Ultraman, and like, how this compares to those, how this is in the same universe. We did confirm that while doing our research before doing this review.
Yeah.
And... yeah, we mentioned in the non-spoiler, like, what were there, like, ties to the other movies?
We watched it, we had no idea.
We had no idea while watching it, and then now after having, like, watched it, and now that we can talk about it in the spoiler review, even though this is not going to make that much of a difference, it's really not going to make that much of a difference. I think we can go to the Wikipedia for this.
Sure, yeah.
So, there's these 2 characters, the government officials, that, like, reveal themselves as their names as Taki and Tachibana.
Tachibana, big important character in season 2 of Kamen Rider. They introduced Kamen Rider 2.
Okay, in the original show, I guess. But in the 70s and whatnot.
Yeah.
But in this movie, these characters, like, I couldn't even tell that they were in Shin Ultraman, but apparently they were characters in that. They didn't even seem like the primary characters in Shin Ultraman as like the government officials. They were like kind of like the lesser of them, but they're there, and they do show this continuity between the films and whatnot. And yeah, they do kind of fulfill a similar government official role. So it's not like they're just recast as different people or something. Like with the actor in Shin Ultraman, who's also in Kamen Rider Black, or yeah, Black Sun.
Right.
You remember that guy?
Yeah. I've heard talk about we're getting to it a little bit.
Yeah, or the recasting of like you're about to allude to, Scorpion Og,
Yeah.
who was in Shin Ultraman as like the other prominent individual in that movie,
Right.
but like,
or whatever.
but just completely recast as a different person, even though it's the same
Just because they
actress.
could put a mask on her.
Yeah, they put a mask on her. I don't think her face was that covered in this movie either, and she has a pretty different role, and I guess I couldn't really tell it was her either.
Yeah.
But it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so yeah, I don't know what else to say about the kind of plot details that we want to chew on here a little bit more, because now that we can talk about the spoiler details and whatnot. It is like a TV season's worth of content in one movie. Felt like parts were cut short.
I feel like Scorpion Dog, they purposely made it long.
They purposely cut it that short.
Yeah.
Cause like
Otherwise the movie would just be too long.
yeah, I think they like
That worked out pretty well.
yeah, I feel like they didn't want to elaborate on that scene too much.
Yeah.
But like it did feel like that was like shoved in there almost. It feels like in a more traditional like Hollywood movie, they would have just like cut that even shorter to like
Cut it completely.
just cut it out completely, and then
Like,
address
we beat Scorpion Dog off screen or whatever.
yeah, exactly, or something like that. Like they wouldn't even like dignify it with like doing footage for it. Or
Oh, it
whatever.
was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So yeah, her character is like this kind of like she derives pleasure from killing people in a very like Xenia Onatop from Goldeneye kind of way, and that was like her character in this. But like she's on screen for like 2 minutes, and then her only purpose is to serve in the Wasp Og kind of arc, where like when they show Scorpion Og, she's like kind of doing nasty things, but then she's just killed very quickly, and then the government officials take her venom, and then later on it's revealed they took her venom to defeat Wasp Og, and Wasp Og also happens to be Ruriko's childhood friend.
I guess they go done that to like defeat all the hogs, right? Just have these Scorpion Dog blood shoot like Butterfly Dog and everybody.
Yeah, I don't really know exactly why Scorpion Og's venom was necessary specifically for Wasp Og,
Yeah.
or like, why they couldn't use it for other ones. They
I
didn't
guess
really,
they're like,
they
just let the Kamen Riders deal with it or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, just like, and I don't know. They needed to work their way into like using the Kamen Riders.
Yep.
To like getting her to a weakened state to finally use the Scorpion Og venom. I don't know, but like I felt like it went at a brisk enough clip, and the drama was there enough that like you didn't question it that much in the moment.
Yep.
But for that kind of detail, there are other things where it like felt like it was falling a little flat just because of the pacing and stuff. But like that detail itself is not that big a deal while watching it or whatever.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing that you think about afterwards and you ask yourself, but
Yeah.
I don't know if you think about it that much. But and yeah, it seems like as PRpHD is saying, I did wonder how much of this was based on Series 1 of Kamen Rider, and it seems like it's just kind of a mishmash of things. And yeah, story wasn't kind of super interesting. I felt like some of the most interesting parts were the concept of an AI trying to learn from humanity.
Yeah, like Shocker was like, we're trying to achieve full happiness.
Right.
And like talk about like how pain and happiness and just saying like a million times in the movie.
Right. It's this, and then they reveal the name for Shocker, meaning sustainable happiness organization with computational knowledge embedded remodeling. And there's no way
I forgot about that.
There's no way I'm gonna remember that. It doesn't trip off the tongue at all. But I felt like almost as if like
I guess
they shoved that in like post production or something. They're like, oh, we got to add this like AI aspect to the film, as if like it wasn't even in the film originally in the script or something, or if they added it in a late stage in the script or something or whatnot. It felt like kind of added in, but I don't know.
I felt like that. There was like interesting dialogue with that. Scorpion, Spider Og's dialogue when they were trying to ship. What was it? The two main protagonists in the film. Like, I think the dialogue with that, with the philosophy, and everything was interesting. The Shocker name, I guess, is supposed to be like Shield or Spectre, we're supposed to stand for something.
Yeah, exactly.
Homages to that.
Yeah, it's always got to start with an S.
And there you go, too.
And it's got to have roughly 5 to 7 letters.
There you
go. Yeah, there's like weird dialogue in this, like, insects and humans are the most evolved creatures on Earth. And, I don't know, they have like lots of little dialogue things in there like that like they don't quite complete the idea or something. I don't know if it's because of the subbed version of it or something.
I don't know, it doesn't feel like Quentin Tarantino dialogue, I'll say at least.
It does or doesn't?
It does.
It does. Yeah, it does feel like there's banter and it moves pretty quickly. But I feel like sometimes, like, some of the, like, I don't know, more plot or world... I feel like maybe this is the word I'm looking for. I feel like the world-building aspects on this film kind of, like, were, like, lacking a little bit. Like, how they, like, complete the ideas of things a little bit. It could have went a little bit further in terms of, like, you know, explaining the thought of, like, insects are humans and the most evolved creatures on Earth. So then, why this grasshopper then? Like and they said like humans were the most savage creatures on Earth, and then insects are the most flighty. Like grasshoppers are the most flighty creatures on Earth or something. And then combining the two, it's going to be the most evolved bio cyborg or something. I don't know. I'm glad they did it though. I'm glad they said something to address why he's a grasshopper hybrid person. Like, if they didn't say anything at all, that would be even worse. Yeah, and you know they gotta like make the script short and everything.
I don't really agree with those points, but in contrast, they don't really explain what the other hogs or the creatures they picked.
They don't really explain the other hogs. Yeah, that's true.
I guess a bunch of them were insects or arthropods or whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, most of them are like insects, except for like what's his face, chameleon.
Yep.
Mantis Og.
Bat Og, like don't explain that.
Bat Og. Yeah. Also, like, some things, like, with some of the Ogs, like, Bat Og's vision of, like, the better future is to, like, have like, diseases and stuff.
Yeah.
And, I don't think that thought was super complete when I watched it. I was like, that's, like, an interesting idea.
That was pretty good to me. The only problem was that they released that thing after the pandemic came out.
I thought they were trying to allude to the pandemic with it, and I was like, oh, this is going to be so fascinating. I wonder what their angle is going to be with this. But I don't think they completed the idea. I felt like, okay, what's the angle? And I'm like, they didn't really like explain what their angle was.
I mean, they had to do with SARS anyway, so maybe they came from that.
Yeah, I guess Asia like already had its fair share of like epidemics and whatnot before it kind of reached the rest of the world in terms of like COVID and whatnot. That was like the first, pandemic in a long time. But anyway, Scorpion Og, Wasp Og. Wasp Og's idea of the future, of better future, was where everyone would be mindless and therefore they wouldn't be in charge of their decisions and wouldn't have any more anxiety, and therefore they would be happy and that'd be sustainable, because the anxiety of decisions and making choices for yourself are the things that create anxiety in people. And if you take away people's free will, then that actually helps. It helps people achieve sustainable happiness, and that's a pretty interesting idea for a villain and character. And I feel like those kinds of meditations in the movie are some of the stronger points. But then it always gets resolved by somebody like kicking somebody with a super kick or something, with like, you know, a small Shin Japan Heroes budget of worth of like, you know, kicking somebody.
I thought it had. Sorry.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
I thought it had one of the better action scenes and one of the better set pieces. Like, I felt like that scene you want to saw like some dioramas for or whatever.
Yes. I think I know exactly what you mean by the Wasbog fighting.
Or the SCA, yeah.
Like the Wasbog scene, like I think at that very specific moment during the film, I was like, "This is exactly like Kill Bill right now."
And they just spent the whole budget on this set.
Like they were like circling each other with the samurai swords. There's kind of like this 70s.
Yeah, the swords too. I forgot. Yeah.
There's like this 70s music, although like to be fair, like samurai swords are from Japan.
And Kamen Riders from the 70s.
Kamen Riders from the 70s. But it felt really like Kill Bill in a weird way.
Yeah.
And like also like the kind of like yellow and black color scheme of like Wasbog was kind of reminiscent of like Beatrix Kiddo, even though that's...
And there's like Oren Ishii and kimonos.
Yeah, and there's all that stuff there too, all the costumes and stuff in the background and whatnot.
And people in like the Western suits, like the Crazy 88.
Yeah. And all the backup kind of NPC characters or whatnot, whatever you want to call them. So yeah, I
wonder if they once put like a mashup where it's like that scene that's like the Kill Bill theme from the first movie, where it's like.
People love Kill Bill, but I feel like the problem is with that kind of content is that the audience for this movie is too small at this point. But for the people who did watch it, I think they would like it a lot.
I don't think I've ever seen like a Kill Bill homage to like in like any film before.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
You know, like it itself is like referencing like Lady Snowblood and stuff.
Yeah. Tarantino's really big on the homages.
Quentin Tarantino's Shin Kamen Rider universe.
That'd be
Shin universe.
That'd be interesting. I'd be very curious about that. And then,
I heard like Hideo Kojima was actually inspired by Kamen Rider to make Metal Gear.
By Kamen Rider?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I know he's also big on movies, so I won't be surprised if he's into Tarantino as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, also during that scene, like when all that stuff was happening with like, oh, this is like Kill Bill, it also occurred to me that it felt like, oh, they're taking out the Augs, it's 70s music. It feels like Kill Bill because like they're taking out each of these characters, like they're working their way up as if it's like a Kill Bill movie.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're taking people off the Kill Bill list.
Exactly, and that was the moment that like it clicked.
You gotta kill Butterfly Hog. Yeah,
and then that was terrible.
It's very entertaining, boy.
It was entertaining. It was very entertaining. But I can't do much better than that, honestly. I gotta tell you. But I know I knew what you're doing though exactly. But yeah, it also reminded me.
I can't read the screen black and white and red. Like,
you really can't beat like a Tarantino edit like that. But then there was like also the fact that it was like it reminded us of a James Bond film at the same time too, with a lot of those kinds of
some of the Kill Bill aspects with like the Ken Adams sets and stuff.
Yeah.
Spectre, Daniel Onatop.
Yeah.
The goals of the organization, like trying to be philosophical, you know, like it's pseudo or it doesn't make sense or whatever.
Yeah. And then maybe like it had a little bit of elements of like a Cyborg 009 Shitara Ishinomori thing with, I guess it's by him, but where it's like...
It sort of isn't.
Where like, it's like, oh, like, do you want to defeat me? We grew up together, that kind of thing. And then they're trying to save each other and all that. Where why don't you join?
I guess they have like episodes like that in Cyborg 09 episodes, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in general, I find like Shin Kamen Rider the least Shitaro Shinomori-ish adaptation of Kamen Rider, yeah.
I remember you mentioning like when you're here for a Shotari Shinomori thing, you want certain elements. I don't know if you want to say them on camera, but Like you're looking for certain kinds of elements.
The
Where, like,
political 1945 elements of defeating the bad guys, basically.
yeah, and then
like we can go back to the beginning even. Like normally in like Go Ranger and Kamen Rider, you have like main characters like a whole nation's destroyed. There's like a survivor, and then like survivor gets turned into a cyborg by like the bad guys, and then he escapes or she escapes, and then tries to defeat the bad guys with like the own cyborg powers that he uses to like get revenge on them and stuff.
yeah. I guess this still has a lot of those, like, he's the hybrid survivor, cyborg guy.
Yeah, I felt like some of that could have been like from the Shin Kamen Rider that we watched in like 80s or 90s, I think, yeah, towards bios.
Yeah. But, like, maybe the difference in this is that it doesn't have, like, the 1945 political aspects and whatnot.
Which is I don't know, he doesn't always do that, but, like, that's what was sort of, like, key in Shin Kamen Rider. It's like the 2020s, and, like, it feels like current events, like, it's coming back.
Yeah, the resurgence.
Like, it felt like a really good time, but I don't know, I guess they already did it in Kamen Rider Black Sun, and they didn't want to do it twice or something.
Yeah, in Kamen Rider Black Sun, they kind of manifested it as an allegory for, like, cultural xenophobia and stuff like that.
And racism in the U.S.
Yeah, they were even invoking, like, this is a spoiler for that a little bit, but it's like they were even invoking George Floyd with that series. But with this, they kind of like allude to it a little bit with these kind of like plots where they're trying to create this perfect society, but maybe it like kind of goes too far, where like it becomes so sci-fi that it's not even it can't even map as like an allegory for like ends justify the means.
Okay. That's what you meant on the screen about like fascism and like I guess like genetic engineering and stuff.
Yeah, social Darwinism, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or like, I feel like
that didn't occur to me. Like, so it could be an adaptation of certain Shinomori's work that I just didn't think about.
Yeah, maybe it does it. Yeah, in that kind of sense it is, but like maybe it's trying to take it like several steps further, and maybe like too many steps further, because it's like, I don't know. That would be a really interesting problem to have if we had like the ability to remove people's free will or something or whatever.
That's what you mean.
But like that's not what we have like so many issues
like
with
anti-democracy or whatever.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe we are kind of dealing with that a lot. This happens in other films too. This happens a little bit in
like they become like more powerful like physically, so they feel like they're better than everyone else.
Yeah, this kind of happens in MCU's Black Widow a little bit actually, where it's like the concept of free will being degraded and eroded over time as like a contemporary issue, and maybe it's alluding to like social media and stuff like that to some degree. But yeah, some of these other ones are I don't know, like maybe they're lesser kind of forms of this.
I feel like Butterfly Og was like they talk about like how the origins are and stuff.
Oh yeah,
positive kind of stuff.
So what was Butterfly Og in the original series?
I forgot his name. He's not Black Cross. He was basically an analog for Black Cross Sphere for Gold Ranger. Like he's basically like the main villain for like Blofeld and not Blofeld, but like it's sort of like a replacement for Hitler, basically.
Okay, and then what was his kind of plot? He's like, we gotta wipe out the weakness in society, blah 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 blah.
We gotta take over the world, yeah.
Okay.
And that's everything I had to say. I forgot it.
Okay. So then, in this one, they readapt Butterfly Og to his plot being like, we'll make everyone happy by bringing them into like a world of dreams and illusions and like this.
You'll be outside of your body or whatever.
In a cyber utopia or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's also kind of a contemporary concern.
I guess that has to do with AI stuff, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of something that people are wondering about, yeah.
So, like what what's his name said, like Transcendence or whatever, Transcendent Man.
Yeah, Ray Kurzweil. Is that him?
And I like the Japanese writer too.
Yeah, Michio Kaku probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean yeah, that whole aspect is yeah, it is pretty contemporary. It's on people's minds, I think, in some way or another, or it's on the minds of like philosophers thinking about like the future of technology and its implications for humanity and whatnot. And yeah, like it's a thing people are thinking about, and yeah, but I also feel like there's a lot of issues that we're dealing with that are very practical that don't even invoke those things, like like the things faced in like Kamen Rider Black Sun, but I guess like at the same time, you got these tech bros thinking like we'll solve it with computers, and we're gonna use a butterfly og kind of plot to now we don't have to worry about the physical world anymore. Now that we have computers to solve everything, and we're gonna use our silicon chips to like solve all that. Yeah. So yeah. Nothing like tech bros.
Metaverse and AI and all that stuff.
Well, I mean, there's discrimination in the real world, but if you're a Bitmoji character, can you be discriminated with? And, your NFT is just as good as anybody else's in the digital marketplace,
Bullshit like that.
Your money's no good here. Well, I have an NFT, so...
You're the caretaker.
Yeah, is that
July 4th.
Okay, that's you're talking about The Shining. Okay. But anything else we got to talk about in particular? Oh yeah, the Takeshi Hongo storyline. They just kind of put. He's like driving this whole movie, where like just the events of the film just kind of presses upon him this responsibility, and he just kind of rides with it the whole time. And then it's not until, and you're kind of wondering after a while, like, why is he doing all this for like random people and to save humanity and stuff? And then like at the very end of his arc, they explain like that his father was a police officer, and he was willing to save the life of a stranger, and even until his last dying words, like he was still worried about the crowd and the stranger, even though the stranger was having issues and stuff, in like this kind of mass violence kind of way. That's like kind of something people are more concerned about.
I feel like if Scorsese did the film, he would portray it in like a Catholic thief type of way.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like this is. I wonder. I feel like maybe this is more of a Japanese sensibility kind of approach to it,
yeah.
Where it's like, there's a sense of community and stuff like that, where you worry about everyone as a whole, and you're very selfless about things. And,
or like the outdoor or something, maybe.
Yeah. And then even the son feels this resentment towards his father for like not considering his own family and stuff, and. But he was willing to like live up to his father's virtues to the end, and like, man, that really moves me. I've like that even like a month later, I've really turned this line in my head where Hongo is talking to Butterfly Og, and they've like it's over between them. They're both gonna die, but then even Butterfly Og is saying, "You'd be willing to sacrifice your life to save the soul of a stranger." Oh man, that gets me.
It's interesting because I thought you felt like he didn't. He like wasn't important about the Kamen Riders like plot wise, but like like that thing didn't register with you. But I guess it registers with you now.
Yeah, it didn't. I feel like that was one thing that really stuck with me after a while. Like
it's like in the end, like that was his only thing. I guess it was like late in the film, but like it was pretty important for that character.
Yeah, I think maybe that was like maybe the whole